So a thought came to me a little bit like about an hour ago. Just a random thought came to my mind, and I was like, you know what? I want to talk about this. I want to do a video regarding this particular subject. And what is that? It's basically a pitch for a new Batman show. Yes, I'm fully aware that Batman is everywhere. Like, there's no way to get away from the Bat. But I was thinking this idea for a pitch for a new Batman show. But here's the twist. This would not focus on Batman, nor would it focus on the GCPD. This would be told of a Gotham told in the perspective of the Falcone family. Yeah, this would all be focusing on the Falcone family, their rise and their fall in Gotham. And that would be the whole overarching story, where it would just be the rise and fall of the Falcone family in Gotham. That would be really it, where we see the rise of it before the events of year one, and then the final. Here's how we do the final season. I'll tell you right now. The final season of this show would be the Long Halloween. That's really it, because the story is basically Long Halloween is pretty much the story of how Gotham became ruled by supervillains and no longer organized crime. So it would be, and also Long Halloween itself is a story that you can do that you could do in 13 episodes, 13-hour-long episodes, and do the whole story, but in the perspective of the Falcones. That's perfect. And again, Carmine's son, Alberto, he's Holiday. Well, it's a whole thing. I'll get into that later. If you already know the story, I don't need to get into it. So, the story would be how I would do this. Like I said, this would be centered around the Falcone family, and this would be very, like, the first few seasons would be very mob-centric. Like, this would be how the Falcone family wormed their way into the GCPD, how they got their claws in Commissioner Loeb, how they got into, like, how they got dug into, like, the other higher echelons of Gotham, but couldn't really get to the Waynes. I wouldn't have that the Falcones put the hit out on the Waynes. I wouldn't have that. But basically what I would like to do is, like, you see that kind of empire being built and how they became one of the most powerful mob families in there. But the backdrop for at least the first season would be like villains. Like, you really wouldn't get a lot of villains. You wouldn't even get a lot of Arkham, really. Like, you'd have mentions of Arkham, maybe even get Hugo Strange. Like, Carmine is at a party, and he meets Hugo Strange or Jeremiah or Amadeus Arkham. He runs in them. He says, like, we're fucking wackos. So you would have that, but as the seasons progress, you would see more and more villains appearing. Like, you would have more villains. You would have just this like, every season would just be escalation of villains, and you would see it would get harder and harder for the Falcone family to retain power when you have all these all these super freaks running around. Now the question is, where would Batman be? Honestly, I would. Here's how I would do Batman. I would really play up the Monster in the Shadows routine. I would really play up, like, the first episode, the pilot episode, wouldn't have any mention of Batman. Like, I would have, like, newspapers, like a strange creature seen in the skies or something, but I would not show Batman until, like, the last 10 minutes of the first episode, and then it's like a whole new ball game. Like, oh, Batman, Batman's real, and he's here. So yeah, something like that. Like, the first episode, you would see Batman, like, still in the shadows, and then you would see Batman, like, the first season, because Batman would be the central enemy for the first season. Like, obviously Batman would be the overarching enemy, but along with other crime lords and whatnot. But Batman for the first season would be, like, the major opponent for the Falcone family, and again, like, of course, the next person would be Selina Kyle, Catwoman. But I would like to have it that Batman is seen in the perspective of his foes. I would really like a show like that. And when, like I said earlier, why I would pick the Falcone family to do another Batman show on is mob shows are always good, Sopranos and whatnot. But the other major thing would be, we've already done enough Batman-centric stuff. We've done a lot of centered stuff around Batman, the Gotham PD. How about something around his villains? And you may be thinking, well, why didn't you do a villain-centric story around, Scarecrow or Joker? Because that would be expected. And you know me, I always like to be the unexpected. And really, you really have that sense of, like, it's grounded. Like, you really have this sense of a rise and fall empire through the Falcones. Outside of Batman, the eyes of Gotham shifting from a crime-ridden city to a city ruled by insanity is perfect from the eyes of Batman and the eyes of the Falcone family. Because, there was, for the longest time, the Falcone family was the major power. They didn't need gags or, super weapons or whatever. They literally just ruled as a regular mob family. But as you saw through those later years, you see more and more of their empire kind of crumbling from within, and as well as their own insecurities and whatnot, and the rise of the supervillain, something no one thought possible. Like, I would even love to have, like, other gangsters show up in here. Like, I would love to see, like in later seasons, like gang wars with Intergang, like from Metropolis, and they're using like these big lasers, and they're like, what the fuck? How the fuck? What am I supposed to do with that? I would even love to see like made up mobs from like Coast City or Central City. Those would all be really cool. But like I said, first season, it would be more like Batman is like the monster in the shadows that they have to encounter all the time, while also trying to keep their grip on the city's underworld. But as the seasons would go on, you would see more and more of that decay from within, as well as those outside forces like Penguin showing up. All of that. And then final season, Long Halloween. And then that's the end of the Falcone family. They're still there, but they're never in power again. And final episode, that reveal of Alberto being Holiday would be just a great way to end the series. Anyway, so I thought this would be a fun idea for a show pitch, because even though, yes, I am tired of Batman stuff, I decided, if you're going to do another Batman show, how about focusing on a group of villains? And I thought it would be kind of fun to mix in that kind of vibe of like Godfather and The Sopranos and Goodfellas, and mix it in with a superhero element. So that's why I picked the Falcone family as for a new Batman show. So you guys tell me in the comments below, what do you guys think of this idea? Do you guys like it, hate it, and how would you do this show if you could? Just comment below, let me know, and once again, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.